सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्म उपनिषदम् माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्त्वनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरते यौपनिषत्सु धर्मास्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु। ओम शांति शांति शांति। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओमित्येतदक्षरमुद्गीतमुपासीत ओमिति ह्युद्गायते तस्योपव्याख्यानम् एतेन मातरिश्वा व्याख्यातः एतेन व्यव्याख्यानेन मातरिश्वापि व्याख्यातः। The discussion that was carried out with reference to Vyat of the space, that space is born, is Akasha Vikaraha Vivaktatvat Ghatadivat. And similarly, all the criteria that apply to Vyat also are applicable to Vayu or Matarishva. If this is so, then why do you have a separate adhikarana? Nanu vayo akashasya tulyayo utpatti prakarane shravana shravanayo ekmeva adhikaranam ubhay vishamastu. Why not the discussion about vayu also? Why is it not included in the previous adhikaranam? Because the conditions applicable to both of them are similar. Utpatti prakarane shravana shravanayo. Utpatti prakarane, in the context of the creation, Shravanam, in Taittiriya Upanishad, it talks about the creation of Vayu. In Chhandogya Upanishad, it does not talk about the creation of Vayu. So Shravana, Ashravanayoho, Tulyayoho, both of them are similar. So same kind of arguments are applicable to both of them. Then, Ekameva Adhikaranam Ubhaya Vishayam Astu. Adhikarana or topic has its Vishaya, and then Samshaya, and then Purva Paksha, then Uttar Paksha. So why not both of these, Vyat as well as Matarishva, why not both of them were made Vishaya, the subject matter of the discussion of the previous Adhikaranam, previous topic. Kim Atideshena Asati Visheshe. When you do not find any Vishesha, anything different about the Vyat and Matarishva, the space and the air, when there is nothing different between them, then why should there be a different Adhikarana for discussion of Matarishva? Idea is that Adhika Ashanka, that Matarishva can possibly create some doubts which may not have been created with reference to Vyat or space, therefore. Satyameva etat. It is true that even though there is a great similarity between both of them and therefore, that they could have been included in the one Adhikarana, previous Adhikarana. Tathap, even then, Shabdamatra Krita Shankan Vrutyartha Yamatideshah Kriyate. That there are statements about Matarishva, there are statements about Vayu that can create doubt. Those statements are not there, particularly this Anas Saesha Anastamita Devata Yad Vayu. Vayu is the Anastamita Devata, a Devata that does not suffer from extinction, does not disappear, it is always there. Therefore, Astamaya, that's a Devata that never sets, it always shines. This is something different with reference to Vayu. Also, and therefore, Samvarga Vidya Dishu Vipasyataya Vayoho Mahabhagatva Shravanat Vayurheva Etan Sarvan Samrukte. That Vayu swallows all the other devatas. No, this also is not stated with reference to space. So therefore, these are the additional things stated about the Vayu. And therefore, Kasyajit Mandadhyam, for those who simply follow the words and not the spirit. That's what Lord Krishna said. Yamimam pushpitam vacham pravadante vipaschita veda vadarataah partha nandasti divadina. They take literally the description of heaven, they take it all literally, and meaning that is where Vedas have the Tatparya. Vedas do not have Tatparya in prescribing Swarga as your objective or as a destination. It is only simply to encourage you to perform the action that the Vedas say that. But then this avipaschita, people who are non-discriminating, they take those words literally. Thus it is important to understand what should be taken literally and what should be taken figuratively, what should be taken in a primary sense, what should be taken in the secondary sense. That is where the discrimination or viveka is required. Mandadhyam, those who do not have that viveka, take those statements literally and interpret that Vayu is immortal, Vayu always is, etc. Astame pratishedabhyascha bhavati nityatvashanga kasyachiditi. Amrutatvadi shravanasya krita pratividitvat katham tadvashadashanka kasyachit. Even though these points also have been answered with reference to the space, it has been answered. That the immortality also is relative, is not absolute, in case of space as well as Vayu. So really speaking, even the doubts that could possibly arise with reference to Vayu have been dealt with. But still, specifically these passages were not referred to, which are only applicable to Vayu. Therefore, somebody may have a doubt, and therefore a new Adhikarana is justified. A separate Adhikarana is justified. Now continuing the page 513. Says Nyayinirana Brahmano Vyat Paramakarnatvam Purva Adhikaranayoho Uktam Purva Adhikaranayoho. In the previous two Adhikaranas, previous two topics, Vyat Pavana Karatvam Brahmana. The previous Adhikarana said that Brahman is the Vyat Karanam, the cause of space. The past Adhikarana said Vyat is the Matarishva Karanam, or it is the cause of the Vayu. Now then, Idanim Agni eva Visfulinga Agni yatha utpadyate. Tatha Brahmantarad Brahma utpadyatam iti ashankya. Now somebody may say that, look how from the fire the sparks are created. Sparks also are fire. Fire also is fire. Therefore, from fire, fire is created. See, when the sparks emerge from fire, you can say that the fire is the cause of sparks. Fire is given rise to sparks. But what is the spark? Spark also is essentially fire. So this is an example where fire gives rise to fire. Fire becomes the cause of fire. So why not similarly, Brahma becomes the cause of Brahman? Why not? So one Brahman becomes the cause of another Brahman. This idea. Brahmantarat, Brahmantarat, Brahma utpadyata. From another Brahman, one Brahman can be created. Why not? Iti ashankya asambhavastu. So next sutra, which also forms an adhikaranam, answers this possible doubt. That is it possible that Brahman can be created from another Brahman? So the Sutrakara says, Asambhavastu Satah Anupapattehe. Asambhavastu Satah Sadatmakasya Brahmana. A Brahman which is the nature of Sat or existence. Asambhava Utpatti Asambhava. So Asambhava is the pratigna. Asambhava. Satah Asambhava, that's what it is. In fact, Satah Asambhava, that's the pratigna. Satah Utpatti, so Utpatti Asambhava, that's how to say. Yeah. So, Utpatti Asambhava, but then Utpatti Asambhava. For Sat, Utpatti is not possible. Why is it so? Then the Hetu is given Anupapattehe. Upapatti, reasoning. Anupattehe is not reasonable, not logical. The creation of Brahman is not logical. Sat samanyasya utpatti anupattehe. So doubt is, can Brahman be created from another Brahman? But Brahman is Sat, or existence. Other Brahman also is Sat, existence. Then, is it possible that existence is created from existence? No. Samanya cannot be created from Samanya. That's the idea. Visheshasyeva ghatadehe mrit samanya janyatva darshanat. If Vishesha can be born from Samanya, but Samanya cannot be born from Samanya. For example, clay is Samanya, is universal. Ghata is Vishesha, a particular. So Ghata, which is Vishesha or particular, is seen to be born from clay, which is Samanya or universal. So particular can be born of universal, but universal cannot be born of universal. Clay cannot be born of clay. Therefore, Brahman, which is Sat Samanya, which is Nirvishesha. So Vayu has Visheshata, therefore it is born. Space also is Vishesha, has also an attribute. Therefore, so Shabda is the attribute of space, so it can be born. Brahman is attributeless. An attributeless thing, attributeless cannot be born. Asambhava. We have the Vaiyasika Nyayamala verses there. It is Adhikaranam of only one sutra, that's all it is. But anyway, this short adhikaranam. Sad Brahma jayate no va karanattvena jayate yat karanam jayate tad tat vyad vaivadayo yatha. So Sad Brahma jayate no va. Sad Brahma, Brahman is Sat or existence becomes a Vishaya here. Jayate no va. Is Brahman born or not? If space is born, air is born, why not Brahman also? So why not Brahman also has birth? Brahman also is created. Why not? Karanattvena jayate. So Purva Paksha says. Karanattvena jayate. Since Brahman is Karanam, we find that every Karana also is Karya. So Vyat is Karanam for air and Vyat also is Karyam of Brahma. Air is a Karanam of fire, but air also is a Karyam of space. So we find in our day-to-day life that every Karanam or cause also is Karyam, is in effect. Every father who is the cause of the son also is the son of his father. So this is what we find. Yat karanam jayate tad vyad vaivadayo yatha. Yat karanam, whatever is the cause, jayate, is found to be born. Vyad vaivadayo yatha. This is Vyat is the karanam, space is the cause of the vayu and is seen to be born. Vayu also cause of fire is seen to be born. So Brahman also is cause. Therefore, by the example of Vyat and Vayu, Brahman also is born. So that is the Purva Paksha. Asatah akaranattvena khadinam satadbhavat vyapte ajadivakyena bhadat sanneva jayate. Asatah akaranattvena. The problem is Sat Brahman born of Asat? But Asat is non-existent. It doesn't have a content. So nothing cannot give rise to something, so Asat cannot be Karanam. Khadinam Sata Udbhavat. Kha means space. All of them are born of Sat. Vyapte ajadi vakyena badhat. This vyapti, that whatever is caused must be born, is badhat, is denied or negated by ajadi vakyena. न जायते न्रियते वा कदाचित एष अजः महानात्मा etc. Sat naiva jayate. Therefore, Sat is not born. The Tika says here, Chhandogya sadeva somya idam agrasiti shruyate. In Chhandogya, Shruti says, sadeva somya idam agrasit. Idam, this universe was agre before its creation. Sat or existence, it was Brahman before its creation. Tat sadrupam Brahma janmavat bhavitam arhati karanatvat vyadvat. So Hanuman is presented here. Tat sadrupam Brahma janmavat bhavitam arhati. Sadrupam Brahma. Brahman of the nature of Sat or existence, janmavat bhavitam arhati. It should be possessed of janma, possessed of birth, meaning it should be created. Why? Hetu. Karanatvat, because Brahman is Karanam. Vyadvat, so Vyad the space is Karanam and space is born. Therefore, the Vyapti is whatever is Karanam also is born. Brahman is Karanam, therefore Brahman also is born. Purvapaksha. Iti prapte bhrumaha. So this is not an uncommon question. The common question is, if Ishvara created the universe, who created Ishvara? Very intelligent people ask this question. That means, so we find that the Creator also is created. If Ishvara is created, who created Ishvara? If you fellows cannot answer that question, then you don't know what you're talking about. So you don't know what Ishvara is. That's what they tell us. How that Vyapti? What is Vyapti? Whatever is created must also be created. There seems to be a universal rule which they apply in case of Ishvara also. That's not a universal rule. That what is created must also be created. Because we'll discuss that, it will come here. Iti prapte brahma sadrupam brahma na jayate. So satah asambhavah, satah utpatti asambhavah, sat is not born, is not created, is not, is not in effect. Kuta? Tajjanakasya karanasya durnirupatvat anupapattehe means what? Durnirupatvat. That what can possibly be the cause of Sat? If you say Sat or Brahman also is born, there is also an effect, then there must be a cause of Brahman, so you cannot durnirupatvat. It is not possible for you to in any way arrive at the cause of Brahman. So you cannot arrive at the cause of Brahman. Tathai, to illustrate. Na tavat asat karanam. So we will see what can possibly be the cause of Brahman. Sat can be cause of Sat, Asat can be cause of Asat, or Vishesha can be cause of Samanya. These three possibilities are there. Na tavat asat sat karanam. Asat or non-existence cannot be the cause of existence. Katham asatah sajjayate iti nishedat, because Chhandogya itself negates or denies this, or negates. Katham asatah sajjayate. How can Sat be born of Asat? So Asat cannot be Karanam of Sat. How about Sat? Can Sat be the Karanam of Sat? Napi Sadeva Satah Karanam. Or Sadeva Sat also cannot be the cause of Sat. Why? Atma Shraya Patte, Atma Shraya Patte, Atma Shraya. That means what? That I ride on my own shoulder. What is Atma Shraya? I riding on my own shoulder is called Atma Shraya. It's not possible. I cannot be my own Ashraya. I cannot lift myself. Meaning, I cannot ride on my own shoulder. I cannot lift myself by my own bootstraps, So those long straps are there. So can you lift yourself by your own straps? You cannot. Therefore, Sat cannot be born of Sat. Alright? Then can Sat be born of its own karya? Napi Vedadikam Satah Karanam. So, can anything other than Sat be the Karanam? Like space, etc. Can Sat or Brahman be born of space or other things? He says, no. Vedadinam Statah Satah Jayamanatvat. But space itself is born of Sat. And therefore, space is not there when Sat is there. How can Sat be born of space which is not yet in existence? Yatu vyaptihi yadyat karanam tatta jayateti. And so, vyaptihi ajadi vakyena badhat. What's a vyapti? Yadyat karanam tatta jayate. Whatever the cause is born. Yatha vyata, just as space is effect, space is a cause of and it also is born, so Brahman is cause, also is born. Sa sava esha mahanaja atma iti shruti badhya. But that vyapti is negated by the statement of Shruti, which says, Saye Savaesha Mahan Aja Atma. Atma is Aja Mahan, all pervasive. Aja is unborn. Tasmat Sat Brahma Neva Jayate. Therefore, Brahman, which is existence, cannot be created, cannot be born. It is what they call the uncaused cause. You would accept that. So, let us go to the Bhashya now. Says Ratnabhava, Anadyanantam Matah Param Dhruvam Nachasya Kaschid Janita Ityadi Brahma Anaditva Shrutina. So there are many Shrutis which says that Brahman is Anadi. So no dearth of these statements saying that Brahman is unborn or birthless. Anadyanantam Mahatah Param Dhruvam Nichayata Mrityu Mukhat Pramuchyare. Anadi Anandam Mahatah Param Dhruvam. Anadi, beginningless. Anantam, endless. Mahatah Param, greater than Mahat. So even Mahat Tattva greater than that also. And Dhruvam, which is what? Imperishable, constant, changeless. Nachasya kaschid janita. There is no janita, there is no progenitor of asya brahmana. Of Brahman, there is no progenitor, no father, no creator. Ityadi Brahma anaditva shrutina. So these are statements which talk about the anaditvam, the birthlessness of Brahman. Then there is one statement in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad. Very interesting. Tvam stri, tvam pumanasi, tvam kumara utava kumari, tvam jirno dandena vanchasi, tvam jatosi vishvato mukha. Tvam jatosi jato bhavati vishvato mukha. So, talking about Ishvara, this Rishi says to Ishvara Bhagavan, tvam stri, O Lord, you are the form of this woman. Tvam pumanasi, you are in the form of this man. Tvam kumara utava kumari, you are this young man, you are in the form of this young woman. Tvam jato bhavasi vishvato mukha. You are born with faces all over. You are born in all these forms. So there it looks like Shvetashvatara Upanishad talks about birth of Brahman in the form of this creation. So Brahman is born. Idutpatya shrutya virodha astinava. So then there is the anaditva shruti. The statements which say Brahman is anadi. There is some rare statement which says Brahman is born. Therefore, virodha astinava. Is there a virodha? Is there a contradiction between them? Do they contradict each other? Do they are opposed to each other? So throughout this is the thing. The doubt arises because there appear to be different statements of Shruti. And therefore, whether these Shrutis are talking about the same thing or are they talking about opposite things? If the Shruti talks about opposite things, then Shruti cannot be Pramana. So Purva Paksha always says that the Shrutis seem to be talking about opposite things. Shrutis are opposing each other. Therefore, that is not Pramana. Then Ekadeshi says, what does Ekadeshi do? Ekadeshi says, no, the Shrutis are not opposed to each other. Why? What is the basis? That one is Mukhya, other is Gauni. The one Shruti is to be taken in the primary sense, literally, whereas other Shruti must be taken in a figurative sense, secondary sense. Gauni asambhavat. So there is Ekadeshi Vedantin who wants to reconcile and say that there is no contradiction among the different statements of Shruti. There is Samanvaya, there is Ekavakyada, there is the unity of purport among the different statements of Shruti. That's what the Ekadeshi says. But Ekadeshi adopts Apasiddhanta, unfortunately. In trying to prove the Pramanyam or validity of the Vedas or Upanishads, he resorts to this argument that one Shruti is Gauni, other Shruti is Mukhya. But we want all Shrutis to be Mukhya. Therefore is Apasiddhanta. So although what he says is acceptable to us. He wants to prove that the Upanishad Vakyas are all pramanam, which goes well with us. But the manner in which he does, by saying that one Shruti is primary, other Shruti is secondary, that is not acceptable as therefore, he is not totally with us. So Ekadeshi would say that one Shruti is Gauni, other Shruti is Mukhya, therefore there is no contradiction. Then we say that no, both are Mukhya. So that is how the argument goes. The Purva Paksha, Ekadeshi and Siddhanta. Then एक वाक्यत्व भाव अभाव्याभ्याम संदेह अस्ति संदेह एक वाक्यत्व भाव अभावाभ्याम whether in these two study statements is there ek vakyata, unity of purport, one says anadi ananta, other says it is born, do they mean the same? Or they don't mean the same, they are opposed to each other. So these two positions are possible, sandeha. Therefore, this sandeha, the doubt is created. Doubt can be created when there are two equally possible positions. Both of them can be right or appear to be right. Both the contradictory or opposing positions, when both of them appear to be right, then a doubt can arise. Then we have to show how one of them is right, other is not right. Asti virodha iti purva pakshe. All along, Purva Pakshi wants to show that there is no consistency in Upanishads, that the statements of Upanishads themselves contradict each other, and therefore Upanishad is not pramanam. This is the main Purva Paksha throughout. Throughout, the Ekadeshi wants to reconcile by saying that one is Gauni, other is Mukhya. And throughout, the Siddhanti would say that both Shrutis are Mukhya, and still there is no contradiction between them. So that's the Siddhanta. Iti Purvapakshe, yatha vayavadehe amrutatvadikam utpatti shruti balat apekshikam. Yatha vayavadehe amrutatvadikam vayusya antariksham cha etat amrutam. Both Vayu and Antariksha are immortal. That immortal is apekshikam. He is only relative, not in the primary sense. Because Utpatti Shruti Balat, because the Shruti clearly says Akashad Vayuhu, so Vayu is born. Therefore, even though elsewhere it is said that Vayu is immortal, that immortality cannot be taken literally, that immortality has to be taken only in a relative sense. Yatha tatha brahma anaditvam apekshikamiti drishtanta sangatya. So Purva Pakshi says that if on the strength of one Shruti you say that other Shruti is apekshika, from the strength of the Shruti which says Vayu is born, you say that the immortality Vayu is apekshika. Similarly, one Shruti says Brahman is birthless, other Shruti says Brahman is born, so birthlessness is apekshika. This is Purva Paksha. So, iti drishtanta sangatya ekadeshi paksham prapayati. So, drishtanta sangati, what is said earlier itself, or what drishtanta you gave, becomes the basis of this argument here. Ekadeshi paksham prapayati vyaditi. So when the Purva Paksha comes, that there is a contradiction between the Shrutis, then the Ekadeshi presents this Paksha, that one of them is Gauni, other is Mukhya. So vyaditi, Bhashyakara says, Vyat pavanayoho asambhavyamani janmanoho ape उत्पत्तिम उपश्रुत्य ब्रह्मणोपि bhavet kutaschit utpattihi iti syat kasya chinmatihi. So Vyat Pavanayoho Asambhavyamana Janmanoho. So Vyat means space, Pavana means air, or Asambhavyaman Janmanoho. It is not possible that they can be born. Looking at space, it doesn't look like space can be born. Space is always there. The Vayu is always there. How can they be born? That's what normally we think. But the previous Adhikaranas established that space also is born, air also is born. Utpattim upashrutya. Therefore, having heard the utpatti, the creation of space as well as air, even though until then it appeared to be impossible that they can be born. Brahmanopi bhavet kutaschit utpattihi. Then you can go a step further. If Vayu and space, which do not generally appear to be those which are born, the birth seems to be impossible. If impossible can also be possible, then why not Brahman also be born? Brahmanopi bhavet kutaschit utpattihi. Brahman also can be born of kutaschit from something. Iti syat kasachin matihi. That kind of mati or a doubt can arise in somebody's mind. Says Jainirane, Darshita Shruti Viroda Pariharadvara Samanvaya Dhudikaranat Padadi Sangataya. Darshita Shruti Viroda Pariharadvara. These two Shrutis are shown. One Shruti says Brahman is Anadi, Anantam. Other Shruti seems to say that Brahman is born. Viroda Pariharadvara. So purpose of this Adhikarana is to eliminate the apparent Viroda. There appears to be a contradiction. The purpose of this adhikarana is to remove that contradiction. Samanvaya dhudikaranat. Therefore, Brahmani samanvaya. All along, there is consistency with reference to the nature of Brahman. Padadi sangataya. So all the sangatis are applicable as before. पूर्व पक्षे विरोधात अप्रामाण्य नित्य सिद्धे ब्रह्मणि समन्वय असिद्धि. So what is Purva Paksha says that the Shrutis are opposed to each other, they contradict each other, and therefore Nitya Siddhe Brahmani Samanvaya Siddhi. That Upanishads always talk about Brahman which is ever existent. Looks like some Upanishads say that Brahman is born. Some Upanishads say that Brahman is not born. That's all it is. There are some Indian thinkers who think like that. Some very intelligent people also, they think that these people, the Sutrakara has really messed up everything. Sutrakara, by showing that there is consistency in Brahman, has done injustice to Upanishads. Sutrakara has as though robbed the Upanishads of their freedom. By creating a sutra and showing that all Upanishads say the same thing, therefore the independent Upanishads and the different insights the Upanishads give is actually blocked. Because Sutrakara and Bhashyakara make a certain mindset in you, and therefore you look at the Upanishads only in that way, so you fail to see what Upanishad really has to contribute. Not everybody is sympathetic to a view that Upanishad is pramana. That all Upanishads are consistent. They have the same theme, the same purport. They are not sympathetic to that. They don't think that it has to be like that. They always talk of the development of thought, how the thought grew, how the thought evolved. It's not that right from the beginning you knew this. In the beginning you thought one way, then the thought evolved into this, and this, and this, and finally the thought evolved into this. Therefore, that Upanishad earlier, then this is later, then this is later. This is the scholastic viewpoint, the historical viewpoint. Those who look upon everything as history, that after all is all human creation. All scriptures also are creation of human mind. They reflect the thinking of the great people, no doubt. But nevertheless, they are human beings, and therefore they are not all-knowing. Therefore, it is not possible for anybody to know God in reality. You cannot be all-knowing, therefore God cannot be really known as He is. It is still evolving. So no religion is final. All religions are evolving, including the Vedic religion also is evolving. So Christianity also is evolving, and Islam also is evolving. They are all evolving. So what's the big deal? Why do you insist that you are superior to the people? They are all incomplete. All religious studies are incomplete. That being the case, nothing is everybody is same. They are all incomplete. Nobody is better than other. Don't claim yourself to be superior to others. Etc. etc. That's how they think, you see. But that is not the traditional viewpoint. Traditional viewpoint is Brahmani Samanvaya. In Brahman, Anadi, Ananta Brahma, there is Samanvaya. That Brahman is Anadi, birthless, Ananta, endless, infinite. And that all Upanishads are consistent in delineating or teaching Brahman of that nature. So Purva Paksha wants to show that there is no consistency, therefore Brahmani Samanvaya Asiddhi, that there is no Samanvaya, there is no consistency with reference to Brahman. Siddhante Vakya Aikyad Avirodhat Pramanya Tatra Tat Siddhi. As far as Siddhant is concerned, Vakya Aikyad, that even though the Vakyas appear to be contradictory, really there is no contradiction in them. This is what the Siddhanti always wants to show. The Pramanya, therefore, both are Pramanyam, therefore, Tatra Tat Siddhi, Nitya Siddhi, Brahmani, Samanvaya Siddhi. Therefore, there is Siddhi, or there is the proof or establishment that all Upanishads are consistent with reference to revealing Brahman, which is birthless and endless. Sambhavana matrat artha siddhau ati prasangat. See, the first vakya of the Bhashyakara is Vyat pavanayoho asambhavyamana janmano api utpattim upashritya. Hearing that even Vyat and Pavana, the space and air, which do not appear to be born, they appear to be eternal, but they are also born. Hearing that, there can arise a possibility, a possible doubt that Brahman also could be born. But there is no sambhavana, Sambhavana matra artha siddhau. Just because sambhavana is there, just because possibility is there, doesn't mean it is established, it is proven. Ati prasangat. So many sambhavanas elsewhere also, sambhavana or possibility can be there. If possibility is not the proof, evidence is the proof, or reasoning is the proof, possibility is not proof. Pramanam was sadhanam bhaktav. Therefore, pramanam, you must give evidence as to how can Brahman be born. Do you have any evidence for that doubt to be created? So tatha. Or, if you look at Ratnaprabha, Brahma kutaschit jayate karanatvat akashvati anumana manugrahat Janma Shruti baliyasi diya. Brahma kutaschit jayate. Brahman is born from something. Why? Karanatvad, because Brahman is Karanam. So yad Karanam tatta jayate, that's how you do. Karanatvad means either you call it Hetu or Vyapti, both of them are involved there. So Karanatvad. So wherever Karanatvam is there, then Janyatvam is there. Yatra yatra Karanatvam, tatra tatra Janyatvam. What is the example there? Akasha, yatha akashe. Just as in case of Akasha, Akash is Karanam as well as Janya. And Brahman is Karanam. Brahman also is Janya. Iti Anumana Anugrahat. This Anumana is favorable to the birth of Brahman. Akasha is Karanam of Vayu. And Akasha, Janyam is born. So Brahman is Karanam of Akasha. Therefore, Brahman also is born. So this reasoning favors the Janma Shruti, favors the statement of Shruti, which appears to say that Brahman is born. Therefore, Janma Shruti baliyasi. There is Shruti which says Brahman is unborn. Other Shruti says Brahman is born. Which one is stronger? But the second one, that Brahman is born, is supported by this Anumanam or reasoning. Therefore, Janma Shruti baliyasi. This statement talking about the birth of Brahman is stronger. Ityaha tatha iti. So Bhashyakara says, Tatha vikarebhyaiva akashadibhyah uttaresham vikaranam utpattim upashrutya Akashasyapi vikaradeva brahmanah utpattihi iti kaschin manyeta. So first sentence talked about the sambhavana, possibility. Second sentence gives the reasoning, how that sambhavana is reasonable. Therefore, it can form the basis of doubt. Tatha, to illustrate, vikarebhyeva akashadibhya uttaresham vikaranam utpattim upashrutya. Akashad vayuhu vayoho agnihi agnehe apaha. That's what the Shruti says. So vikarebhyeva akashadibhya akasha vayu and others which are themselves vikara, themselves modifications, themselves created. Uttaresham vikaranam utpatti. So subsequent vikara, subsequent creations came from the causes which themselves were created. Upashrutya akashasyapi vikaradeva brahmana utpattihi iti. It's a very confusing statement. Akashasyapi vikarat. Akash also is vikara, therefore brahmana utpattihi. What it is akashasyapi vikaradeva brahmana. There is a evakara in between. So anyway, vikarat brahmana eva utpattihi should have been that way. Akashasyapi vikarat brahmana, which is the fifth case. So Brahman, which itself is vikara or modification, from that Akasha is born, Akasha is a cause and is vikara, and Akasha is born in Brahman, therefore Brahman also must be vikara. Iti kaschit manyeda. So this argument, Upavatti, it favors the Janma Shruti. Then says Ratnaprabha, Nacha anadi karana abhavena anavastha. So then if you say that Brahman also is born, Brahman also is vikara, Brahman also has a beginning, it has an adi, then what happens? There is no anadi left. If the primary cause Brahman also has a cause, that means that there is nothing which is causeless, nothing that is beginningless. Then what will happen? Anadi karana abhavena. So now we are not left with any karana or cause, anadi. Therefore, anavastha. So what happens? If Brahman is cause, Brahman also has a cause. Which is a cause, so it must also have a cause. That will lead to infinite regression. That means cause is not established, in which case effect cannot be. The fact that effects are there, that means there must be a cause which is uncaused. The fact, otherwise there is infinite regress. Every cause also must have a cause. So Brahman is a cause, then it also must have a cause. Then cause of Brahman is a cause, so it also must have a cause. Which is a cause, so it must have also a cause. Every father must be a son. Then grandfather also is a son, father, so he is also a son. Then Ishvara is the father of everybody, so he also must be a son. Then whose father it is? And where is the first father? Unless the first father is there, you cannot arrive at the son. Unless the first cause is there, you cannot arrive at the effect. Unless the first illumination is there, you cannot arrive at illumination. Unless the first existence is there, you cannot arrive at existence. Therefore, there must be an uncaused cause. Otherwise, anavastha, infinite regression will be there. So, that is what we would say. We ask him, if you said that Brahman also is in effect, Brahman also must have a cause, then it leads to anavastha, infinite regression. He says, no, it does not lead. How? Bijang karavat anaditva upattehe. Famous question, which was born first, bija or ankura? Or in English, hand, chicken or the egg? Which is the first one? Chicken or the egg? Chicken cannot be unless the egg cannot be unless the chicken is. So which one is first born? But here, bija ankura. Which one is born first? A sprout or the seed? Seed cannot be unless the sprout is. Sprout cannot be unless the seed is. But is there? See, even though you cannot establish which is first, seed or the sprout, but the fact remains that sprouts and seeds are there. So there is no need that you should have an uncaused cause. From the example of the bija and ankura, it is shown that it is possible to have bija and ankura, even though you cannot pinpoint which is the cause and which is the effect. Similarly, even though Brahman also may be an effect, there is anadi parampara is there, therefore anavastha will not be there. So bijang kuravat anadito upattehe. So Brahman can be anadi like bijankura, even though it is a cause. And secondly, tasacha deepat deepavat brahmantarat brahmantarotpattihi. Another example. Tasacha deepat deepavat. So just as one lamb is born of another lamb, one Brahman can be born of another Brahman. So there the example was from fire the sparks are born, but here a lamb is born of another lamb. Similarly, one Brahman can be born of another Brahman. Utpatti shrutya anadita shrutihi neya. So now we have two shrutis, Utpatti shruti and Anadi shruti. Utpatti shruti says Brahman is born, Anadi shruti says Brahman is birthless. Now the Ekadashi wants to reconcile. So he will say that one is Mukhya, other is Gauni. So what is Mukhya? The birth, the Jani shruti is Mukhya, the Anadi shruti is Gauni. So Anaditva shruti neya. Anaditva shruti, the statement of shruti which says Brahman is Anadi, must be name is Gauni. It must be in a secondary sense, not in the primary sense. So the Shruti that talks about the birth of Brahman is in primary sense. The Shruti that talks about Anaditvam Brahman is secondary sense. Iti Anadi Ananta Brahma Samanvaya Asiddhi. Therefore, Brahman is not proven to be Anadi Anantam because somewhere it says Brahman is born. Iti Prapte Mukhya Siddhantama. So, Purvapaksha, Ekadeshi and Mukhya Siddhanta. Purvapaksha, the Shrutis are opposed to each other. Ekadeshi, no. One is Gauni, other is Mukhya. Siddhanta, both are Mukhya. So that's the Siddhanta everywhere. Tamiti. Tamashankam upanetum idam sutram asambhavastu iti. You can see how the doubts are raised based on the previous discussion. Every answer or every conclusion appears to create another doubt. That's how the Sangati is there, So how one Adhikaran follows the other Adhikaran. So what the conclusion that was arrived at in the previous Adhikaran itself causes a ground for the next Adhikaran. So different kind of Sangatis are there. Akshepa Sangati is there, Drishtanta Sangati is there, and so this is the different kinds of Sangatis are there. Here Drishtanta Sangati, sometimes Akshepa Sangati, etc. So tam ashanka apanetum, to eliminate that doubt, idam sutram, this sutra is there, asambhavastu iti, that birth of Brahman is impossible. Says Ratnabhava, Brahma na jayate karana shunyatvat nara vishanavat. Brahma na jayate. Our argument is Brahman is not born. So before we arrive at the conclusion of which Shruti is primary, which Shruti is secondary, consider whether Brahman is worth being born. Brahman does it have the capacity, the nature to be born? Brahman by nature itself is birthless. Then you talk about Shruti later on, but Brahman being Brahman has to be birthless. He is a primary cause, and the primary cause must be birthless. Therefore, Brahman na jayate karana sunyatvat, the Brahman cannot have a cause, and therefore Brahman is not born. Nara vishanavata, like Nara Vishana, the horn on the head of a human being, they cannot be born because they cannot have a cause. I don't know why such an example is given, but anyway, Nara vishanavata, like the horn of the head of a human being. Na jayate is not born karana sunyatvat because there is no karanam, the cause of nara vishanam or sasya vishanam. Vyatirekena ghatavat. So Vyatirika example is possible. Everything is born. The thing is that there is no illustration of something that is not born. Therefore, no anvaya example could be given. Only Vyatirekena ghatavat. Yan naivam tan naivam. That's all you can say. So, yad jayate tad na karana sunyam, that's how to say. What is born is always possessed of karanam, ghatadivat, so the vyatirekena ghatavat. Like ghata is born because ghata has a karanam. Therefore, whatever is born must have a karanam. What does not have a karanam cannot be born. So by vyatireka you have to arrive at this. Iti anumana anugrahat. So now see, we also have an anumana anugraha. So the argument was, the Shruti talking about the birth of Brahman has the support of anumanam or inference. That whatever is cause also must have a cause. That anumana supports the birth of Brahman. We say that whatever is born, so must have a cause, but what doesn't have a cause cannot be born. And so Brahman doesn't have a cause, the Brahman cannot be born. So that anumanam supports the Shruti, Ajatva Shruti. So they have presented anumanam, we should also present anumanam which is in conformity with or which is favorable to the Ajatva Shruti. It is anumana anugrahat. Therefore, anugraha, there is favorableness of this line of reasoning with reference to the ajatvam, birthlessness of Brahman. Vipaksha. Another thing is, if you do not accept this, if you insist upon accepting the birth of Brahman, then akarana karyavada prasangat. Akarana karyavada prasangat. Then what happens? There is no karanam left. There is no primary karanam. Brahman is supposed to be primary cause. If Brahman also has a cause, then there is no primary cause left. Akarana karyavad. Then things are created without a reason. Things are created without the cause. Because no cause is established. Why is universe there? No cause is established. But things are what? They are there without any reason at all. In that case, there can be no reason, no order in the universe. Why should something happen? Normal rule is that something cannot happen without a reason. Therefore, whenever an event happens, you always investigate about the reason and you find out why this thing happened. This has been our experience. But if the first birth itself is without a cause, then all the births also are without the cause. That means what? Whatever happens in the universe has no cause. In that case, there is no order. There is no predictability at all. But we find predictability is there, order is there, therefore the cause must be there. Akarana karyavada prasangat Brahma anaditya shruteh baliyasya. That is, Brahman is born is one shruti somewhere, which also is stated in a different way, for a different reason. But if you take it literally, then also there are so many shrutis talking about the birthlessness of Brahman. Therefore, Brahma anaditya shruteh baliyasya. Therefore, the shrutis talking about the anaditvam, the beginninglessness of Brahman, are stronger. Iti karanatva lingabhadat janma shruti. Iti karanatva lingabhadat janma shruti karya abhedena vyakhya. Iti karanatva linga badhat. What is the linga? In Brahman, the linga was karanatvam. So the rule was, what is it? Yad yad karanam tat tat karyam viyadvat. So Brahma kutasya jayate karanatvat akasadivat. So reason is Brahman is born because it is karanam. So karanam becomes lingam, becomes an evidence to prove that Brahman is born. But that karanatvam, that linga is what is negated. Karanatva linga badhat. Therefore the linga of karanatvam in Brahman is thus negated by the argument that if you don't accept the primary karanam, then there is akarya karanam, akarana karyam. Then there will be no order at all. Therefore, karanam must be there. The fact that the universe is born, the fact that there is order in the universe, that means that there must be a cause, a primary cause must be there, which itself should not have a cause, and Brahman is the cause like that. So this reasoning overrules your supposedly imagination that Brahman is karanam, so that rule must apply to every karanam. It does not apply to Brahman. Even though the rule that what is cause must also be a cause applies to everything, but does not apply to Brahman. Because from another standpoint, Brahman has to be the primary cause. If there is no primary cause in the universe, then there will be all the karya without the cause, which doesn't make sense. Therefore, karanatva linga badat janma shrutin. That means that so the shrutis that talk about the birthless and the Brahman are the primary shrutis. Then how do you explain? Tvam jato bhavasi vishvato mukha, that you are born for with faces all around. How do you explain that shruti? Says karya abhedena vyakhyaya janma shruti. The shruti which talks about janma, the birth of Brahman must be vyakhya, must be explained as karya abhedena. Meaning that the karya is not separate from karana. So this, you are born, this universe is your manifestation, universe is not separate from you. That's all it means. Not that you are born as universe, but the universe is not separate from you. That's how that shruti must be explained. Iti anadi ananta brahma samanvaya siddhi iti siddhanta phalam. And therefore, the result of siddhanta is that anadi ananta brahma samanvaya. There is samanvaya, the reconciliation in Brahman, anadi, beginningless, as well as ananta, endless. Iti siddhanta phalam. So Bhashyakara says, न खलु ब्रह्मणः सदात्मकस्य कुतश्चित् अन्यतः संभवः उत्पत्तिः आशंकितव्या असंभवस्तु अनुपपत्तेः न खलु ब्रह्मणः सदात्मकस्य कुतश्चित् अन्यतः संभवः. That's called asambhavah. This part is explained. Utpattihi ashankitavya. That one should not have this doubt that Brahman also is born from some other cause. Which Brahman? Sadatmakasya Brahmana. Brahman which is of nature of Sat or existence. So Brahman is of nature of Sat or existence, that can be born from some other cause, that doubt should not be there. Karana sunyatvam vishadikurvan prashnapurukam sautram hetumadatte. Sautram hetum. What's the hetu given in sutra? Anupattehe. Karana sunyatvam vishadikurvan. So actually, Bhashyakara wants to clarify how Karana Sunyatvam is there, Brahman is devoid of any Karanam. To bring out that point, the Sutrakara has already given the Hetu, Anupatte, because not keeping with reason. To bring it out, Bhashyakara raised that question, Kasmadati. Kasmat Anupatte. So why do you say that you should not doubt that Brahman may be born from some other cause? Why should that doubt not arise? Anupatte, because there is no upapatti, there is no logicality, no reasoning that supports the cause of Brahman. That Brahman can be born, cannot be supported by any reasoning. So says Ratnaprabha, na hetu asiddhi karanasya anirupanat. What is the hetu? Anupattehe. It is not logical. So na hetu asiddhi. Don't say that illogicality cannot be proven. Karanasya anirupanat, because you cannot actually establish or you cannot arrive at the cause of Brahman. So look at it that way. So before you interpret the Shruti, you also have to take into account the reasoning. So Shruti appears to say that Brahman is born. All right, we'll come to that later. The point is, first look at Brahman and determine whether is it possible that Brahman can have a cause. Is there upapatti? Is there a reasoning by which you can arrive at that Brahman can have a cause? It's not possible. Karanasya anirupanat. Because the cause of Brahman cannot be arrived at in any way. It is not logical, cannot be explained. Cannot explain this, cannot be possible. So Ratnavrat says, Tathahi, to explain. Kim sanmatrasya brahmanah sanmatrameva samanyam karanam sad vishesho va asadva. Brahman can have three causes, possibly. Sanmatrasya brahmanah sanmatrameva samanyam karanam. One is that Sat can be born of Sat. Sat is samanyam, universal. So Brahman, which is universal existence, one possibility is that Brahman can be born of another Brahman, which is also Sat or existence. Sat Visheshova. Or Brahman can be born of something which has a Vishesha, which is a particular. So Brahman, the universal, can be born from particular. So Brahman, the universal, can be born from another universal, one possibility. Other possibility is Brahman, which is universal, can be born of another Vishesha or particular. Or third, Asadva, or Brahman can be born of non-existence. So Brahman can be born of unqualified existence. Brahman can be born of qualified existence, or Brahman can be born of non-existence. These three possibilities are there. If you examine these three possibilities, you find that it is not possible to arrive at the cause of Brahman, and therefore Brahman is causeless, therefore Brahman is birthless. So that's the argument. We will continue tomorrow. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmedi Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.